Good morning. My name is Ray Kuhl. I'm CEO of PBSI Technology Solutions, and I want to thank you for joining today's webinar, Email and File Encryption. Today is the second of 3 cybersecurity education series webinars for clients and friends of Mariner Wealth Advisors. So I want to thank our friends at Mariner who saw the need for this information and have been actively involved in the planning for these webinars. We're honored to partner with Mariner, knowing that individuals at Mariners for many years I've been associated with. I'm proud to know that we're helping provide content for clients of this firm who consistently demonstrates integrity and caring about clients. So the topic today, email security practices and file encryption, 2 separate topics, both very important. So we're going to talk about the fundamentals of email security, how to spot dangerous emails. We'll go through several examples of this. File encryption, separate topic, how and why to encrypt files that are at rest and files during transmission. Again, separate topics. We'll dive into some details, and then a short demonstration of some security tools that we think are worth evaluating. I want to say that the purpose of these webinars is to inform and educate, not to sell products and services. And unless you request follow-up from PBSI, we will not reach out to you other than providing follow-up content like handouts and webinar content. So feel free to reach out to us if you have an interest in ongoing services, but our goal is to inform and educate. So one note, I'm going to speak very quickly. I speak quickly anyway. There's a lot of content to cover today. And so just a heads up warning that if you're doing something else while I'm speaking, you may miss some important content. So diving in, the basis of the information that we've learned comes from 30+ years in providing IT and security services to lots and lots of clients, both businesses and nonprofits and individuals, large and small. And I'm very blessed as CEO to be able to say that the large percentage of our staff have been with us for many years, and I know that knowledge helps clients. So our primary business is assisting individuals and businesses with IT and security concerns. So I won't demonstrate. If you participated in the last webinar, you saw a demonstration of a dark web password exposure check. What this shows, and we're happy to do one of these for free for any person. So if you are wondering if your email or family members' emails have been exposed on the dark web, send us an email. We'll do a free test. It will not expose any information further, but it will tell you if you have any exposed passwords. And these exposures have happened. There are 3.1 billion email addresses available for sale on the dark web, and of them, 1.2 billion have exposed cracked passwords. And generally speaking, it wasn't your fault. LinkedIn, Yahoo, Gmail, DocuSign, Adobe, Dropbox. I mean, there are recently Marriott, Dell, very recently the Obamacare website, healthcare.gov, have all been hacked, and folks who stored their passwords there thinking they were very safe, now those passwords are exposed and available for sale. And it's because of this that it's so important that we are cautious about evaluating incoming email, because our friends may have been compromised and we may be receiving emails from people who seem trustworthy, but they're no longer, quote, our friends. They're coming from a source that has access to their compromised emails. So here are 4 principles. Safety principle 1, unsolicited versus solicited. Recognize the difference between solicited and unsolicited. So you may receive an email from Ray, who you know and trust, but if you didn't request it, it's unsolicited. Same thing with anybody you communicate with regularly. It may be expected, but just understand when it's unsolicited, pay a little bit higher level of caution, in some cases a lot higher level of caution if it's not specifically requested. So you request something from your Mariner Wealth Advisor and they respond, that's solicited. So even if you know the sender, the point is anything unusual about this email. Most of us have seen the same pattern. It's just one pattern, a brief email from a known person. If you hovered over their email address, you'd realize it isn't really their email address, but it has brief content like, thought of you, check this link out. and there's one link in it and maybe a small number of other recipients who you know that person knows. It's just one example where you thought it was, you think it's from somebody you know, it's not. Malware is frequently delivered by taking advantage of other people's hacked emails. Okay, safety principle 2, and this is the overriding thing, antenna up always. No longer can we just open up emails without careful attention. So does anything seem amiss? Do you need to click this now? Is there any reason you need to click it at all? But particularly, can you just pause and wait? And there are a couple of other steps that I'll recommend here. So evaluating the email address, hovering over the address, looking at time of day, recipient list, content, out of character. Why would this person send this email to me? Heads up. Any misspellings, grammar mistakes, unusual phrasing, colors, formatting, all of these are frequently found. It may be surprising when you see an email that has some of this in it, but the great majority of, quote, bad emails come from outside of the country. It's not that there aren't scammers and malware senders inside of the United States. There are, but non-native English speakers will make mistakes that sometimes just a little thing should cause you to say, wait, let me be cautious before taking action here. So unsolicited versus solicited, antenna up. So the other two key principles, 1, don't, or I should say 3, don't get your news from your email. So I've had some really vivid examples, a couple of emails that I'll show you in just a bit, the actual email sample, where I remember getting the email and thinking, oh, I did not know. The day I received the email that said, Fox News, picture of the CEO of United Airlines. United Airlines CEO has been fired over the incident where the passenger was thrown off the plane. I remember looking at that email and saying, wow, I didn't know that. Well, it wasn't true. It never happened. That email was bad. And I'll show you some examples. Don't get your news from your email. Go to your news source if you have a question. Just don't click on an email. And particularly be aware of current events, tax time. Anytime a disaster happens, somebody within a day or two will be sending donation requests, and they're scams. Holidays, celebrity news, key product releases, anything that is of interest to the public is going to be used, and it is used very, very quickly by scammers. Social media. Okay, so popular sites are rife with phishing scams, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn or other social media sites. Please don't believe that your friends are foolproof. When they forward on a link and you think, well, it must be okay. No, I like my friends, but generally speaking, I stay away from any links they send. And also, while Facebook and other social media sites vet advertisers, they don't vet advertising always individually. So there may well be a link in an email that is really not, or excuse me, a link on a posting or an ad on social media that you think, well, this is okay with Facebook, it must be okay with me. No, don't click on links on social media. Does anything seem too good to be true? Trying to make you curious? Why would somebody want to make me curious? Don't get your news from your email. Okay, careful with unsubscribe. This is possibly new to some folks. Unsubscribe is a tactic that scammers use to confirm that your email address is real. They send out to a million email addresses. If you ever get one that's info@yourorganization.name and that address doesn't exist, they're guessing at email addresses. And when you say unsubscribe, they say, okay, there's a real one. And in some cases will cause them to initiate an attack. So what do you do instead? If you use Outlook, right click and choose junk and then block sender. With other email products, there are different techniques, but block the sender instead of unsubscribe unless you're certain that the source is credible. If you get too many emails from Macy's, and perfectly fine, credible source, but you say, I don't want those anymore, if you're certain that it came from Macy's, then go ahead and unsubscribe. But generally speaking, that's not the best way. So scammers are very intentional. We'll summarize this later on, but these are really key principles. Now I'm going to move on and talk about some other email caution steps. So not only hovering over email addresses, but hovering over links. If you hover over a link in an email, it won't always, but many times it'll display a much longer address, and sometimes there'll be misspellings. You can frequently identify, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. There is no email address, amex.us.com or ups.pickup.com, but scammers use ruse addresses like that to make it seem legitimate. Never, this is really important, never respond if asked to click a link for confirmation or reset. Even if they know information, they might know your whole credit card number or your whole social security number. Because this information has been exposed through, just hundreds and thousands of sources, just because they know this information doesn't mean that they're legitimate. So here's what you do. If you think it's legitimate, then instead of clicking, go to the vendor site and log in. If you have a security message, it will be there. So think twice. And if you're uncertain, forward the email to a trusted IT person or company. At PBSI, clients forward these to us all the time, and we encourage it, saying, is this one okay? And we take that as an urgent thing to vet that and look at the details. And sometimes they're just fine. Sometimes they're not. Okay, common hacker spoofs. Tax season is coming. Every year there are new creative ways to take advantage of folks who are very concerned about their security. So now you need to reset your IRS PIN number. There's a problem with your account. Make sure and do this before the hackers can send your tax return in early. All kinds of ruses. Just don't click on email links. And the same is true with renewal and reset requests for Gmail or Microsoft or Apple or and certain resume attachments. I mean, these are tried and true things, but still people are fooled all the time. Don't reset passwords. Go to the vendor site, log in, and if there's a reset required, it'll be there. Unusual activity. So this extends beyond email. This goes to texts and phone calls. I guarantee you a credible vendor, or the IRS or Microsoft, they are not going to call you and say, hey, we detected unusual activity. They will not do that by phone call. And you may, in fact, get a security, like a credit card company email that says there's a problem, but don't click on the link there. Go to the site and just don't use the email as the method of connection. So if you have any concern that you've made a mistake, oh, I just clicked on something, I shouldn't have done that, then change your password associated with that account. Once your password is changed, then there is no longer any concern that they can still access your account. So we'll summarize this, and there's an attachment each of you will receive that summarizes all of these email caution steps. Hopefully this is helpful. So I'm going to go through just some quick examples. Some of these are old, some of these are new. Here's an example of I received an e-fax. Well, if I look at the email address, there's really no email address. This isn't coming from our internal email server where faxes get forwarded to my email. It's coming from a different source. If you're uncertain, just don't click on any of these links. If you had clicked on this email, you would have received a message like this, which you never want to see. Your files have been encrypted. You've been attacked by ransomware. Now you need to figure out how to pay this ransom. Well, don't pay the ransom, but you never want to see this screen. Hopefully you never have. Hopefully you never will. So other common examples: security alert. Your login limit is reached, or is this you? Confirm to that it's you, or no, my account is secure. Don't do any of that. Don't click on an email. This is not from Amazon. This was a fraud. Security events in general, scammers love to take advantage of because you're concerned about security. You receive an email that says, problem, but we can solve it for you. So last year, you may remember the Spectre meltdown thing that happened December 31st, right at the beginning of the year. And here on January 6th, the bad email came out that said, you've heard about this, click here to learn more about it. You want to fix your problem, click the link below. Here's your instructions. Do not do it. This is a bad email. It's just an example that security events people know you're concerned about and they want to take advantage of that. Don't click. So tried and true, FedEx, this email wasn't from FedEx. This email wasn't from UPS. Oh, I got a shipment. My wife must have ordered this. Nope, don't click. Okay, current events. So here are a couple that came to my inbox. Here was the breaking news that I didn't click on that said the person who drove into the crowd at Charlottesville was acquitted by the grand jury. Well, that never happened, but if I'd clicked on this email, I would have been attacked. Here's the United Airlines email that I mentioned earlier. This came into my inbox, and I still remember thinking, wow, that's a really clever ruse after I went to my news site and realized it was untrue. So here's an example of a good email. So not all banks do this, but we bank with Huntington, and I have this statement: there are no links to click on. Now, some banks do send emails with links. Generally speaking, avoid them because there are so many examples. Here's a CitiCard. This wasn't from CitiCard. Update your information. Don't do it. Go to the site. Emails from trusted sources. So after a disaster in San Francisco, this email came out very quickly thereafter that says, donate. You want to help people. Click on one of these to choose your amount. This is a bad email. It was a scam. On the right-hand side here, Kroger. This is an example of guessing. Is it reasonable to know that a Cincinnati business or a Cincinnati individual would have an account with Kroger? That's a reasonable guess. So here is Kroger telling me, hey, we're going to offer something to you. This wasn't from Kroger. Don't click. Emails requesting a click. So here's one: review your signature or make your signature online. So there are plenty of legitimate signature requests, but unless you're very certain, unless you were expecting this to come from that person in this time frame, then send them an email separately. Don't reply to this one, but send them an email saying, hey, did you send me something to sign? And then people are happy to answer that kind of a question, and they understand the reason for security concerns. Free credit information or fix your credit, click on this link to see your score. Nope, this was not from Credit Karma. This is a bad email that would have installed a keylogger. So you've seen this kind of thing happen, just some examples to indicate the variety and incredible cleverness that the bad guys have. All right, so we'll send a summary of the email principles that we talked about, but I'm going to move on to topic number 2 for this webinar, and that is file encryption. So first, what is file encryption? Why is it important? It's important to protect documents that have sensitive or protected information. And so encryption, very simply, is a term that describes garbling data so it can't be read without a private key, which generally is a password. And encryption security varies. Not all encryption is equal, but generally speaking, the way to encrypt a password, if you want it to really be secure, is make the password long. Special characters are fine, but length is the enemy of hacker decryption software. And there are free tools available to high school kids who can log onto the internet and apply that tool to a password that has, or a file that has a password, and all of a sudden, given an hour of search time, even a 10-character password file is unencrypted by the free tool. So the more important the document, the longer the password. So files at rest and files in transmission, those are the two topics. Why would I want to encrypt a file at rest? At rest means it sits on a hard drive, it's not being used. Nobody's opening it, nobody's doing with it, it's sitting there. So it's a tax return from a prior year. It's a Word document that you're using but you don't have open. If the file is at rest, why would I need to protect it? And the answer is I'm protecting it from a future hack. So if somebody did get access to my PC via an email link or a intrusion that came from the outside, if that were to happen, what could they access? And how important would the protecting of that information be to you? So this is, we recommend that all documents on home PCs and certainly work PCs be encrypted if they have sensitive information, but this is a personal decision whether do you encrypt a document that has a list of 10 social security numbers? Yeah, absolutely, do that. Your tax return that has just 1 or 2 or 3, up to you. I'm talking about at rest. At rest, do you encrypt the document? And generally speaking, it's a really good idea to encrypt documents at rest, but not necessarily all personal decision. Protected information, that is personal, PII, personally identifiable information, or PHI, protected healthcare information, that's information that includes 1 or more social security numbers, credit card numbers, dates of birth, account numbers, driver's license, passports, anything that has a medical procedure code or diagnostic code. All of that information is has a market and is available for sale once somebody gets access to it. So protecting files at rest, I'll do a short demonstration how you do that using simple Microsoft Word or Excel or Adobe PDF software. More important for most of us is making sure that we encrypt files in transmission. So that generally for most of us is by email. There are 3 ways to encrypt information that's sent through the internet. And one is to encrypt the email itself. One is to encrypt an attachment and then send that via normal email. And the third is to use a secure file sharing portal like Mariner's ShareFile. So a secure portal immediately creates a secure encrypted VPN between you and that portal site so that anything you send there is encrypted in transit. So you can use a secure file sharing portal with safety. What you don't want to do is send an email to your Mariner advisor or to your accountant that has tax return information or anything with protected information. You don't want to send it clear by email or by email attachments. It seems incredible to most of us that how could that possibly be? I'm sending an email just from me, just to another person who's paying attention. Well, there are automated programs, think Google web crawlers, that can read free of charge every piece of traffic that goes on the internet unless it's encrypted. So encrypt by at rest and encrypt in transit. So I'm going to do a short demonstration of a couple tools, 2 of them related to Office 365 and then 1 related to file encryption. So I'm going to look at advanced threat protection. This is a $2 a month option that is the most important security tool, in my opinion, that's been released for years and years, where instead of learning what to avoid and never clicking on something bad, this $2 a month option added to 365 sends every piece of traffic through a sandbox on the internet. And before getting to your inbox in the cloud, it explodes, detonates each web click or each file attachment, and instead of delivering a virus, delivers a message that says, this was a bad link, you shouldn't have clicked it, but no damage has been done. So I'll demonstrate advanced threat protection. And then also Azure Information Protection, another $2 a month option for Office 365 users. This is what gives you the ability to encrypt a message. So the first one protects against bad links. The second permits encryption of an email. So I'm going to go to my inbox. I knew how to click, and I'm going to find this email that was sent to me by our security administrator that has a bad link. So this is a known bad link, but I'm just dumb and happy here. I'm going to click on that link. So what happened is when I clicked on the link, instead of going to the bad website and acquiring a virus, Advanced Threat Protection sent this through a site that says, this is a bad link, you can't do that. And we set it at PBSI to prohibit taking any further action, which is what we recommend. You can set Office 365 such that it gives a warning and the person can click anyway. Not a good idea in my opinion, but very simple and a really important protection. So that is the $2 a month advanced threat protection. Now I'm going to send a new email and I'm going to encrypt it. So I'll send this email to myself, and I could include any kind of attachments that aren't encrypted and my social security number, anything I want to. And before I send this, I'm going to choose the option permissions, and I can encrypt or encrypt plus do not forward or encrypt plus or other options, but I'm going to encrypt this. And when I send it, then I won't finish this. I won't complete the sending of this, but the recipient of this email will receive a message that says you have an encrypted email from Ray. Click on this link, and what happens when you click on that link is to open it, it sends you to a secure website, creates a VPN tunnel between you and the sender, and now you can access that content. And even if you reply back to the sender, that message is still encrypted in both directions. So, short demonstrations of the email protection feature and encryption feature. Now I'm going to do one other short demonstration, and that is I'm going to save a document that isn't encrypted, but I'm going to encrypt it. So I have a Microsoft Word document. This, in fact, happens to be the attachment that you'll receive after this webinar that says, how do you encrypt the Microsoft Office file? It works the same way in Word, Excel, PowerPoint. To encrypt a file, you open it up, and I'll just do this quickly. You do Save As, More Options, Tools, General Options, and give it a password. Then you confirm the password, and when you're finished, that document is saved. And I'm not going to do this because I really don't want to encrypt this document, but that's it. Now that document is encrypted, and you could email it to somebody, and it would be protected from anybody opening it. So then once you have done that, you want to communicate to the recipient what the password is to open that, but don't do it in the same email. You want to send the recipient a password via a different method. So text it to them, call them, fax it to them. So that's the way it works. Simple demonstration, advanced threat protection, email encryption, and encrypting a file at rest, which I just did. So in summary, the 4 principles that are key: recognize any unsolicited email differently, antenna up in general, don't get news from your email, be careful with unsubscribe, and the email caution steps again, which you'll get a summary of each of these, hopefully will be helpful to you. And then encryption, consider encrypting key files at rest on your computer, but clearly always make sure that when you send protected information by email that you use some method of encryption. One of the things that we can offer is a risk intelligence scan on PCs that will actually find all examples of unencrypted PHI, and it's a shocking thing. It's quick and easy to do. Just ask us if you want this done. There is a cost for this because we have to install a piece of scanning software, but we can find data that is at risk that you don't even know is at risk. It will find things in recycle bins and old email accounts and email archives. It is possible to find out what data you have that's at risk without manually doing it. So in summary, the previous webinar, we talked about how do you secure a PC. Antivirus protection is key, patch management to make sure nobody can take advantage of previous security risks, having vulnerability scans done, and don't download software that you're not very, very careful about. Encrypting, backing up, how to know that your PCs are safe, which online security monitoring is the best way to do this. It's very inexpensive. PBSI does this, and we offer concierge security services. So ask us if you'd like a quote. This is how you know that your PC is safe. You've installed the right tools. Now, are there any malware or keyloggers running on your PC? You can know for sure. And pay attention to the Internet of Things, your doorbell, your refrigerator, your television, to make sure you're not using default passwords and that you keep your phones secured with passcodes. So the fact that you're attending this webinar indicates you are an active learner. I salute you and hope this has been very helpful to you. We are finished with content, so I'm just going to summarize quickly. You will each receive, you might consider this unsolicited, but because I'm telling you, you'll receive it, you will receive an email that includes how to evaluate dangerous emails and how to encrypt files. If you want to request quotes for services, just let us know. We will not reach out to you with a quote unless you request it. Mariner and PBSI both understand the extreme importance of protecting confidentiality. We will not reach out to you without request. So upcoming webinar, the last webinar in this series is next Wednesday. Excuse me, you're welcome to register for this, or you'll receive an email when this webinar is finished, and you can click on an option that simply says register us for the last one if you're not already registered. So I want to thank you for your attendance at this webinar. We're finished with content. I hope everyone has a good day. Thank you for your attendance.